Hello, my treasured student, my esteemed viewer. Welcome back to our channel, Alfonso the Rothschild, and I am still your usual instructor, Ogochukwu. And you remember that the aim of this channel is to help all of us become better, to help all of us have a better grasp of English language for our everyday communication, for business transaction, for family businesses, for interaction with people who are both native and non-native speakers, and to get ourselves better understood by our audiences. Welcome back again. I am always happy to know that you are there with me. In our immediate past video, we talked about the simple present tense. Tenses, like other aspects of the language, are a broad area with a very wide ramifying scope. Today, however, we are still talking about tenses, specifically the simple present tense, very different phase from the one we discussed in our immediate past video. Take a look at our topic today. It says constructions in the simple present tense. Why is this important? It is because in our immediate past video, we talked about the meaning of the simple present tense and when to use the simple present tense and how to use it. Apart from habitual actions, that is, sentences that show that a speaker is talking about an action that is often repeated, there are other uses of the simple present tense. So first of all, let us talk about the simple present tense with a time expression. The simple present tense with a time expression. What do I mean by time expression? Good. Time expression is the same as the adverbial that I talked about in our previous video. A time expression is a word or group of words that represents the time when an action is billed to have taken place, or is billed to take place, or is billed to always take place. Are we making sense here? If the simple present tense has an adverb of time referring to the future, then the verb automatically ceases to be the simple present tense. It becomes a simple future tense. What I mean is that along with those other verb forms that we normally use to express the future actions, the simple present tense can also express the future action. But it does this only if there is an adverbial going with it, an adverb of time referring to a future time. Otherwise, the form of the verb remains the same, only the adverbial changes the time of the action. Let us take an example. 1. So let's take a look at these three sentences. Each of them has a verb in the simple present tense. Number one is visits. It says, next week, a team of education inspectors visits our school. When? Next week, not today. And the sentence isn't talking about what happens repeatedly. It's an action that will take place only next week. Now, the phrase next week, adverbial phrase of time, tells us the time in the future when a team of education inspectors visits our school. Because of this time expression, next week, the verb visits now functions as simple future tense, even though it is a simple present tense in form. But the inclusion of the phrase next week catapults the action to a future time. Remove next week and the whole sentence is still simple present tense, because that is what the verb represents. So if you make a sentence in the simple present tense, but you want to show that the action will take place in the future, just add a time expression. Say, in the next 1 hour, tomorrow, in 2 days' time, on Saturday, next month, and so on and so forth. Then that action, the action expressed by the verb, is no longer a simple present action, but one that will happen in the future. The alternative to making this sentence this way, number one, is to use the traditional way of expressing a future action. Simple future. Now, we simply say, next week, a team of education inspectors will visit our school, because that is what this verb means. A team of education inspectors visits our school next week is the same as that team will visit our school next week. Sentence 2. The governor commissions the new windmill tomorrow. The time expression is tomorrow. Tomorrow tells us when the governor commissions the new windmill. Tomorrow is a time expression. The verb commissions is simple present, but the time expression tomorrow makes it express a future action. Number 3 is a question. It says, when does Salamatu return? Compare that to when will Salamatu return, which is the normal way of expressing a simple future. But the adverbial when does Salamatu return, makes the verb does return express a simple future tense. So the simple present tense can be used along with time expression to express a future action. We use the simple present tense to talk about events, that are changeless. That is, we say natural phenomena or natural truth, which is changeless. So, I would say natural phenomena For example, Sentences like the 4 or 5 that we have here express natural phenomena. We use them to talk about what happens naturally. What happens naturally without human intervention. A goat has 4 legs. The verb has is simple present tense. It tells us about a natural truth. If you ever see a goat that has 3 legs or 2, that must be the result of an accident. Because a normal goat is born with 4 legs. Ruminants chew the cud. Correct. Cud, C-U-D. Ruminants chew the cud. If you understand the animals that are referred to as ruminants, then you know that they chew the cud. It's a natural phenomenon. 3. Metal expands. Metal expands under heat. That's true. It's a natural phenomenon. If you heat up metal, it expands. Number 4. An insect has 6 legs. Correct, just like number 1. An insect has 6 legs. Insects are born with 6 legs, not 1 or 2. 5. The sun shines while the moon glows. These actions, shines and glows, are associated with the sun and the moon. They are natural phenomena. Let us continue. What other use do we put the present tense, the simple present tense to? We use this simple present tense to talk about actions that are associated with certain institutions or organizations. Actions that are known to relate to certain institutions or organizations. Let's take 4 such examples. In these sentences, we talk about actions associated with 4 different organizations. Such actions, talking about what these organizations are known to do, are usually expressed in the simple present tense. Number 1, Christians believe in Christ and worship in churches. Christians believe in Christ and worship in churches. 2. Muslims preach Islam. The verb preach. Muslims preach Islam and worship in mosques. 4. Banks receive credit. Banks receive credit from some customers and grant loans to others. That's what banks do. That's what they are known to do. Banks receive credit from some customers and grant loans to others. 4. Nurses attend to patients. True or false? True. I hear you say it's true. Nurses attend to patients. That is what they are known to do. So we use the simple present tense to talk about actions that are associated with certain organizations or group of persons. Good. Now we talk about the third use, our third use of the simple present tense, apart from using it to express habitual actions, which was the first one we discussed in our immediate previous video. What we have here, it says the future in adverbial clauses of time and condition. That is, we also use the simple present tense in a sentence talking about a future action. In the part of the sentence that contains an adverbial clause of time or an adverbial clause of condition. Going by your normal knowledge of English grammar, going by what you should already know in English grammar, especially those of you who are between JS3 to SS3, talking about grammatical structure. A sentence that has an adverbial clause is a complex sentence. That's a sentence that has one main clause, at least one main clause, and one or more subordinate clauses. The adverbial clause, of course, is a kind of subordinate clause. So in such a sentence, in that adverbial clause of time or condition, you find a verb in a simple present tense. Let us illustrate with our first example. Let us see what the sentence is saying. But no, let us take a second sentence, then we can analyze all at the same time. Let us analyze the two sentences. The first one, number one, says, Samuel will drop by when he returns from the rice farm. Samuel will drop by. What will Samuel do? Will drop. That is the future. Samuel will drop, something he will do in the future. Then we have when he returns from the rice farm. When will he drop by? When he returns. The first part of the sentence ends with the preposition by. Samuel will drop by. That's what Samuel will do in the future. But when he returns from the rice farm is an adverbial clause of time. It tells us the time in the future when Samuel will drop by. Now, the part of the sentence that begins with when and ends farm is the subordinate clause. It is in this subordinate clause. It is this subordinate clause, when he returns from the farm, that is known as adverbial clause because it suggests the time of an action. This adverbial clause contains a verb in the simple present tense, and the verb is returns. When he returns means when Samuel returns. Then number two says, if Edna fails to report to the boss, her action will spell trouble. What will her action do? Will spell simple future tense. Her action will spell trouble. In what condition? Then we have if Edna fails. The first part of the sentence, if Edna fails to report to the boss, separated from the other by this comma, is an example of an adverb, of another clause of condition. It gives us the condition, the circumstance under which her action will spell trouble. And in that adverbial clause of condition, there is a verb in the simple present tense, and that verb is fails. All right? In the final analysis, let's talk about the last action. The last two actions, so to say, of the simple present tense, last function of it. Let us take a look at sentence 1 here. I'd like us to follow the dialogue in sentences 1 and 2 carefully. Number 1 says, asking a question When last did you hear from William? When last did you hear from William? And someone answers saying, some 5 years ago. He hasn't taken his medical exam. Meanwhile, he works as a freelance writer. The verb in the simple present tense, works, does not just express a repeated or habitual action. It talks about the engagement, someone's engagement at the moment, someone's occupation, someone's employment at the moment. It says, meanwhile, he works as a freelance writer. The speaker does not mean that this is what he does regularly. He means that is his job at the moment. Lastly, the simple present tense is found in exclamatory expressions such as 1. Oh, there she goes. 2. Here comes Bassy. Here comes Bassy. There you are. There you are. There goes Miss Know-it-all. Here we are. Oh, there she goes. Here comes Bassy. There you are. There goes Miss Know-it-all. There goes Miss Know-it-all. Here we are. Are, goes, are, comes, and goes are all examples of verbs in the simple present tense. They are used in this sort of exclamatory expression. If you have learned something in today's video, remember to like, share this video, and subscribe to this channel. If you subscribe to this channel and become a member of our community, I will give you a complete set of past WAEC or JAMB questions, 100 questions answered correctly, depending on the one that you request for. That is my promise. Because of the explanations that I am making here, you will be better able to understand why the answers that I will give to you are the correct ones, which will not be the case if I simply give you answered questions with no explanations on how the answers are correct or why they are not correct. As I invite you to join me on our next video where we'll be talking about the present progressive, please take English language seriously. It is your certificate to success in life outside. Goodbye and take care of yourself.